Hello, this is Luis. I wanted to start sharing videos about my faith, my conversion. Somebody told me that'd be interested to some people to listen to this and for me to share a sort of diary of my conversion, because I come from a very atheist background in my family, and not only atheist but also against church and against religion in general. That's how I grew up. This is in Argentina, ironically, mainly a Catholic country, but that wasn't so for my family. So after many years, now I'm 54, I have come to Christianity. And so for some people might be interested how a guy that started with atheist beliefs, that read Nietzsche, that read books about how Jesus was a myth, a guy who was really well educated into atheism, then ends up being Christian, and without the help of any supernatural revelation. And it's not that one day, an angel came to me or something like that, but through a lot of reasoning and understanding things. So here goes, because I don't know where to start. So I thought I'll start right here without much preparation. And I'll share a thought or realization I had. Realization sounds really big, like, revelation. No, it's just something that you come to understand. And is that to be Christian is much more reasonable and I wouldn't say scientific, but is much more grounded in good reasoning than atheism. How come? Well, the example or it's not an example, it's allegory, whatever it is, okay? But if you have all the letters of the alphabet and you throw them on the floor with the hope to come to some, let's say, verse of a sonnet by Shakespeare or something like that, a page, something, not a page, a verse, something really interesting like that, you might be all eternity throwing the letters on the floor. And if somebody were to find a page like that with a sonnet of Shakespeare without the name of the author, the reasonable thing would be to think that some intelligence put that together. Now, to think that it was just random things, it takes a lot of faith, a lot of fantasy, right? So is with the world. We don't need to use poems, but really a lot of the things in creations are like amazing poems. Just take a tree. Don't even a tree, let's say a flower, let's say an insect, or even an amoeba. The perfection, almost mathematical perfection sometimes, is mind-blowing. And we're taking little particles, right? So we Christians and believers in general of the existence of God conclude that there was some higher intelligence that put that together, and that whole orchestration, and we call that God. Well, an atheist would think that it was a random process occurring, but at every level, a random process that comes up with the orchestration that has geometric and mathematical perfection interacting with each other. So it takes a lot of faith and fantasy. Really, the atheist is a mystic of some sort that I don't even understand. I feel believer is much more reasonable, right? All right, but let's take a common example, something that just happened right now. The server at the coffee place, Juliana, she's from Peru, and we got to talk. So she has some tattoos there. She told me that the tattoo that said Julia was for her mother, who was there for her during her cancer surviving. She was diagnosed with cancer and she survived. The doctors did not give her a chance. Science was not giving her a chance. But she is a woman of faith, and she said through God's will and her faith was able to pull through and be here alive and defy science, right? She did not say it in those words. She just said it in very simple terms. You know, that God helped me, my faith, God's will, and that's what got me here when medicine and science was not giving me a chance. So how an atheist would explain that? Because we have enough evidence. She's not an isolated case. There are many cases like that science, medicines don't give a chance to the person because cancer or whatever, and the person survives, and that person claims that it was through God's will. People like Juliana will say, yes, but won't recognize the physical world and its laws and everything, but will say, but God is first, and God is more powerful than that. Okay, that would be one explanation. I find it more reasonable to think that what an atheist would say, I think, is that the power of suggestion of the mind can overcome the laws of physics. So if that's the case of the claim of an atheist, that we have that power of suggestion, self-suggestion, he's giving God-like powers to each mind of every human that can go over the physical laws. So that's a belief, but it's a greater belief that I think there's one God. Here we're thinking of many, polytheistic, each one is a God, and how are they opposed? Because if I self-suggest this, but the other self-suggests this, then that is opposite, then who wins and how does it work? I do not understand the theology that atheists have. And I think it's a theology because at the end, we are going to believe something. Even an atheist believes in that, in randomness, in the power of random, in the laws of physics, but also of this other mystic thing that I don't understand. So my argument in that is that an atheist has greater faith and fantasy than a Christian. I don't know how you make that jump to explain this woman's survival that defied medicine and science. So it's I find it very reasonable in my case to say, well, there's a God, yeah, and that's just one way that you can arrive at the conclusion that God exists. And there are many other paths, okay? There's not only one, but I just want to mention that. As you can see, I'm here at the airport, Denver. My flight will be leaving soon, but I want to leave you this. I hope you like it. No editing, just sharing this. I hope the volume was good enough, and thanks for watching.